Hello everyone and welcome to my microeconomics mini lesson. My name is Regina Wen. In this presentation, I will explain the concepts of economics of scale by using Costco as a real-world example. I will define the theory, explain the graph, connect the theory to Costco's business behavior, walking through a math-based practice problem, and finish with a short quiz to check understanding. And my company is Costco Wholesale. The focus of this lesson is Costco's bulk purchasing strategy. And the economic concepts I chose is economics of scale. I chose these concepts because Costco is a strong real-world example of a company that benefits from operating at a very large scale. Costco sells large quantities of goods, buys in bulk, and keeps price relatively low. Economics of scale help explain how and why Costco can do that. By the end of this lesson, learners should be able to do three things. First, define economics of scale. Second, explain why average cost falls as output increases. Third, apply these concepts to Costco's pricing strategy and business model. So the goal is not only to memorize the definition, but also to understand how this theory explains real company behavior. Now let's talk about the economics theory. Economics of scale happen when the average cost per unit goes down as a company produces or purchases more goods. In simple terms, the bigger the scale of production, the lower the cost per unit become. There are two main reasons for this. First, companies can spread fixed costs across more units. Fixed costs include things like warehouse rents, equipment, and administrative expenses. These costs do not change in the short run. So when output increases, those costs are divided across more products. Second, large firms often receive bulk discounts from suppliers. When a company buys products in very large quantities, suppliers are often willing to offer lower price. Because of this advantage, larger firms often have lower average cost than smaller firms. Now let's look at the graph. This graph shows how average cost changes as output increases. The horizontal axis represents output or the quantity produced. The vertical axis represents cost per unit, which is average cost. Notice that the curve slopes downwards at first. This downward slope means that when production increases, average cost per unit falls. Why does that happen? As firms produce more, they can spread fixed costs across more units and often operate more efficiently. So the key idea of this graph is simple. Higher outputs can lead to lower average cost, which is basic idea behind economics of scale. So why does the average cost fall as output increases? Several things can happen when a company operates at a larger scale. For example, large warehouses can reduce storage costs per unit. Transportation becomes cheaper per shipment when companies move goods in larger quantities. Suppliers may also offer bulk purchase discounts. All of these factors help reduce the cost per unit. So the downward slope of the curve represents real business inefficiencies that happens when firms grow and operate on a larger scale. Now let's connect this theory to Costco. Costco operates very large warehouse stores and sells products in high volumes. Because Costco buys products in very large quantities, it can negotiate bulk discounts from suppliers. Costco also has a large distribution network, which helps lower transportation and logistics costs per unit. Another important factor is high sales value. When Costco sells more units, it can spread its fixed costs across more products, which helps lower average total cost or ATC. Because of these advantages, Costco can often maintain lower average costs than smaller retailers. This is why economics of scale is a strong explanation for Costco's business strategy. Now let's connect the theory to real data. This graph shows Costco's revenue over time. Costco's revenue increased from about $116 billion in 2014 to more than $240 billion in 2023. This graph suggests that Costco is operating at a very large and expanding scale. When output and sales increase, companies can spread fixed costs across more units, which helps reduce advantage total cost or ATC. So this data supports the idea that Costco benefits from economics of scale. In other words, economics theory explains how larger scale lowers cost, and Costco's growth shows how that theory works in the real world. This is why economics of scale is the best explanation for my original exception that Costco can keep price low through large scale purchasing and high sales value. Now let's walk through a quick practice problem. A retailer has fixed cost of $200,000 and variable cost of $5 per unit. We want to calculate average total cost, also called ATC, and free output levels. 10,000 units, 40,000 units, and 80,000 units. The formula is simple. Average total cost equals total cost divided by quantity, and total cost equals fixed cost plus variable cost multiplied by quantity. So first we calculate total cost and then divide it by the number of units to find the cost per unit. Now let's solve the problem step by step. At 10,000 units, variable cost is $5 per unit. $5 times 10,000 equals $50,000 at the fixed cost of $200,000. Total cost is $250,000. Now divide by quantity. 250,000 divided by 10,000 equals $25 per unit at 40,000 units. $5 times 40,000 equals $200,000 at the fixed cost. Total cost becomes $400,000 divided by 40,000 units. Average total cost becomes $10 per unit at 80,000 units. $5 times 80,000 equals $400,000 at the fixed cost. Total cost is $600,000 divided by 80,000 units. Average total cost becomes $7.50 per unit. Economics meaning As output increases, average total cost falls. This happens because fixed costs are spread across more units. This pattern is exactly what economics called economics of scale. Costco follows a similar pattern in the real world. Its large-scale value allows the company to lower average costs and offer competitively prices. Now let's do a short quiz to check understanding. I will read each question and take a moment to think about your answer before we reveal the solutions. Question 1. A firm has fixed cost of $200,000 and variable cost of $5 per unit. If output increases from 10,000 units to 40,000 units, what happens to average total cost? Does its increases, decreases stay the same or cannot be determined? Take a moment to think about it. Question 2. A large retailer buys 50,000 units each one, while a small retailer buys only 500 units. Which retailer is more likely experience economics of scale? A common mistake is assuming that both retailer benefits equally. Question 3. Which situation better demonstrates economics of scale? A small store buys 100 units or Costco buys 50,000 units. Question 4. If average total cost falls as output increases from 40,000 units to 80,000 units, what does it indicate? Is this economics of scale, constant returns to scale, economics of scale, or increasing marginal cost? Now let's check the answers. Let's go through the correct answers. For question 1, the answer is B. Average total cost decreases. When output increases, fixed costs are spread across more units, which lowers the cost per unit. For question 2, the answer is B. The large retailer. Buying large quantity allows firms to spread fixed costs to and receive bulk discounts from suppliers. For question 3, the answer is Costco. Because Costco purchases products in very large quantities, it can reduce the cost per unit and benefits from economics of scale. For question 4, the answer is C. Economics of scale. When average total cost falls as output increases, economics describe that situation as economics of scale. To conclude, economics of scale helps explain why Costco can maintain relatively low price while selling large quantities. Costco's bank purchasing strategy lowers average cost and supports its competitively pricing model. This example shows how a microeconomics theory, like economics of scale, can help explain real-world business strategy. Thank you for listening.